Hey guys, Adam here. Just wanted to give you guys a bit of a channel update on the way things are going. Obviously, we've seen some changes in a little bit, so I figured I'd kind of keep you guys in the loop on what's going on for the foreseeable future. So obviously with COVID-19, there's a lot more free time that I think I can have. So content's kind of gone up a little bit, having weekends completely free, having basically any day that I'm not working, because I'm still working 40 hours a week. That hasn't changed, but in terms of, having all this free time to do stuff, I figure I might as well use it somewhere and use my creativity to some extent. So obviously a lot more stuff's been going on, and I figured, give you a heads up on where everything's at and where things are looking at for the future, and, just a quick update to check on everything. So right off the bat, the one thing that is going to leave for sure is the Radical Wrestling Podcast. Obviously there hasn't been one in quite some time. Joe, Liam, and I have pretty much all kind of gone dark on each other. We all just kind of stopped talking at one point, and nobody's really taken the initiative, and it's been long enough now that I think it's pretty safe to say that ship has sailed. It's not that I'm done with wrestling. I'm certainly keeping up with AEW every week. Obviously, Double or Nothing's going to be coming up next month, so there's a lot to look forward to. But in terms of this channel and the podcast itself, it doesn't make a lot of sense to continue forward with it, especially when the focus now seems to be for me sticking around gaming and anime. Wrestling at some point almost was inevitably going to be the one thing that falls by the wayside, with me doing more stuff like gameplay videos and things of that nature. There's only so much time to go around, and when you have to worry about shooting stuff and recording footage and editing and all that, at some point, especially because I'm still working full-time, there's only so many hours in a day, and given that it's just me, I have to cut something to make sure that I'm not overworking and still being able to have at least some level of free time, because that's the other thing too. I still want to be able to either play games or do whatever else without having to feel like I'm restricted because I have to get something done in a certain amount of time. So that's kind of the route that's going in, unfortunately. Even though I still love professional wrestling, it's the one thing on this channel that kind of just has to get cut because, something's got to go. And when, you're known as being the guy who plays games a lot and obviously talks a lot about anime, wrestling seems to be the one thing that's easier to cut than the rest. So the podcast for the foreseeable future is gone. I may still do maybe pay-per-view reviews, but to do stuff every week now, I doubt that's going to be a thing. But yeah, it sucks because I want to be able to still do that kind of stuff, but the time is just not there, especially now. So next up, the other unfortunate part is that the VCR Podcast is it's still going to go like nothing's wrong. So that's still going to be completely running. We're obviously recording remotely now instead of in person like we normally do. So we're still figuring out a few kinks here and there. The last episode we just posted, Vish was having a lot of trouble with his internet connection, so he was cutting in and out. And, that's the reality of recording remotely now, is that you have to hope that the internet holds up, and sometimes it just doesn't. So for the foreseeable future, obviously, we're going to be sticking to this. As soon as restrictions get lifted and it's safe to at least be in a group of 5 people, that's probably an option that we'll go back to. But for the time being, we're doing what we're doing, and if it means we have a few hiccups here and there, then it is what it is. We'll figure it out as we can and work on it as we go. Now, otherwise, the gameplay stuff that we're doing seems to have been a blessing in disguise with COVID-19, because we hadn't even thought about doing this stuff. I mean, we thought all the time about doing it almost like a LAN party, like local, and we realized how ridiculous that would be in the avenues that we have. So being able to do this remotely has kind of been a really cool thing to do. So obviously Left 4 Dead is what we're doing now. It's just a happenstance of the thing that we picked first. We're looking into other stuff too. It won't just be zombie hordes over and over again. We have things like Duck Game in mind, Cards Against Humanity and stuff like that. It's just a matter of actually doing it. So that will be what we work on as time goes on. But in terms of the podcast itself, everything's fine, and we're hoping to do more content, at least in terms of gameplay and things of that nature, And then hopefully when, we're able to do things in person again, there's a lot of ideas that we've had. It's just a matter of, can we do it and can we find the time to do it? Otherwise, business as usual. Now, one of the other series that I do, at least sparingly, is the Church of Weeb, which is strictly for anime. Now I've started to adapt it into gameplay as well with obviously the visual novel Punchline that I'm playing right now. The anime portion of it, though, is going to be a little bit interesting. And this is, I don't know why, but for whatever reason during this pandemic, I've not had much of a interest in watching things. So after Log Horizon, I have not watched any anime at all. And it's not a thing of me not caring about anime. There's a massive list of shows that I want to get into. It's just a case of like, it's not there. Like I have no drive to do it. Maybe it's because I'm trying to keep myself busy, so watching something keeps me still, whereas playing games keeps me focused in every way. So maybe it's that. But I'm hoping that at some point I can kick that bucket and finally get back to work on that. The other part, though, is I gotta be careful when I say how often Church of Weeb can go if it's not gameplay, because the Log Horizon review that I did, which I'm really proud of, but it's frustrating because it got copywritten right away. Like I couldn't post it. So the idea of scheduling these seems impossible because there's a pretty good chance that anytime I post one of these with all these anime clips, because I don't want to just do it to a still screen. It doesn't make sense to do it like that. If I'm going to talk about an anime that's 12 plus episodes long, I should show you something from it. So unfortunately, if I want to do it in the vein that I want to do it, it's not going to work out very nicely if it's going to get copyright claimed all the time. So to say that it would be every Thursday, let's say just as a random day that I put in there, it's not viable because there's no way that I can guarantee that it'll be out that day. So ideally, I can keep it going with other things like obviously gameplay, doing visual novels and that, although it's a bit of a weird road, so I'm not sure how well that's going to go in the long run, but hopefully somewhere I can keep watching more shows. I mean, 12 episodes isn't that hard to finish. If I'm just watching a show, that's one season and that's it. There's a lot of shows that just finished from the winter season that I can totally get into, and less than let's do the math, 12 episodes of 20 minutes, so basically 4 hours, half a day I can watch a show, and it's not much, but it's another thing of, like I said earlier, on free time. I want to be able to still do the things that I want to do and not feel like it's related to this channel, because the more important thing to get out of this is that this is a hobby for me. I'm not doing this to 100,000 subscribers. I'm doing this to 206, I think it is now. So, this isn't a business. This is still something that I'm doing just for fun. If I ever get any sort of fame or notoriety, it's a bonus, right? So, I'm not going to sit here and treat it like it's a job, because it shouldn't be, because it's not supposed to be. At least at this juncture, it's not. If I was to somehow get thousands of subscribers all of a sudden, then maybe I can start taking a look at taking it seriously, but I'm doing this just for the shits and giggles. It's something to keep me busy and keep my creativity going, because I found that, I don't know if I could have any level of stress or anxiety or depression or whatever the hell, but I figure that if I can keep myself constantly busy and thinking forward about something, it can prevent at least me getting too trapped in the idea of not doing anything. And, oddly enough, I got into this forum yesterday because I recorded one of these videos already yesterday. And for whatever reason, the microphone wasn't catching every word that I said. So I lost a good hour and a half of recordings that I had done, because I did a good stretch of stuff. And it took me a little bit this morning to get up and start doing it again and do it all over again, because I'm man, I can't keep wasting time on this if nothing's going to come of it. And I'm not talking views, I'm talking even just alone of I just wasted all this time recording stuff and it didn't go through properly. So it's one of those things where it's easy to get caught in that, why should I do this thing? But I keep reminding myself that, hey, you're just doing it for fun. Don't take it that seriously. If you want to put it down, you can put it down. And I want to keep doing it because I want to keep my mind busy. I want to keep things moving forward for me and not just get trapped in just sitting on my couch all day and, just mindlessly doing nothing, right? So it's something that I try to do to at least keep myself mentally healthy. But yeah, going all the way back to the Church of Weeb, because that was a bit of an aside there. ideally I'd like to get back to doing reviews at some point, and somewhere down the road, I would hope, in May at some point that, we get back to that and I can at least release one, if not two of these, and, we'll work from there. But otherwise, gameplay wise, I'm still going to keep going forward with Punchline. There's a few other ideas I have. There's Ni no Kuni, which could definitely apply to that. There's also a crap ton of games that I have through Steam that I could use that with as well. So there's ideas and options. But for the time being, if there's any series that's going to probably be a little more sporadic and a little bit less than everything else, this is probably the one, just because of how long they can take. And then there's also the demo reel, where I've been playing a lot of demos on the PlayStation 4 and, trying to get a sense of games that are coming out to be released. And that's pretty much gone already, because obviously when a pandemic's going on, games aren't being finished, which means there's no point in putting a demo on. So, unfortunately, the series may not have as long a shelf life as I thought it would, but then again, I also started during COVID, so I kind of had a feeling that I would run out pretty quick anyway. I got one more left to post, and that's basically it. Steam, there's a few things here and there, but most of them are now like pushed way back, so I'm trying to release these videos like a day before the game gets released, so at least it's like a way to be like, hey, tomorrow, here's what you're looking at, and go from there. I have had the idea of going back and playing older demos to games that I haven't played, and maybe using this as a way to be like, hey, is this something that I would be interested in? I actually did one on my own time anyway. I did a game called Coffee Time, which is basically a visual novel taking place in a midnight cafe that's in a world where it's more than just humans. It's like elves and the like. And it was really cool. 8-bit sort of vibe to it, and it was a pretty interesting little story that they told in that demo. So there's definitely the potential of doing something like that, and I may look into that if I feel like I need something to record. But otherwise, the demo reel is limited to there actually being demos. So that's one of those things that is just a cool idea that I had, to be able to play more games without spending money, because I'm not making a crap ton. I'm not, super wealthy here, so I can't afford spending $20, $30, $40, $60 on games all the time. And it also gives me a chance to play games that I never would have tried in the first place. So it ends up working out nicely that way. But for the time being, we'll see where it goes. I might do the old ones just for fun, but it's with the fact that there's not a lot of games coming out. The demo reel is kind of a series that's difficult to do in the long run. And then the last thing that leaves would be just videos that don't fall into any spectrum of series, whether it's just basic gameplay videos, whether it's videos like this where I'm talking to you guys through the webcam and stuff, which I want to do more. The couple of COVID videos that I did where it's just in front of a still image, I did because I just wanted to straight focus on what I was saying and not worry about where I'm on the camera. Like, I don't want to keep an eye on this and stare at that all day, and just focus on how I felt. And I may do another one of those soon, because it applies to something else down the road too. As we especially get closer to restrictions being loosened and things, obviously, whatever a new normal might be, that's something to look into. But otherwise, anything outside of that, obviously I've been doing gameplay videos as it already stands, but to do stuff aside from what I'm doing with the podcast guys and what I'm doing with the Church of Weeb, I'd like to do as well. And it's just a matter of finding out what that is. I've already tried streaming once, and I did Yakuza 6, and I learned real quick that I do not work very well with games that I focus on a story aspect, because my penchant for gaming always falls into the idea that I should be focusing on what I'm doing, and it means, on the flip side, that I don't talk as much or I don't interact as much. Also, streaming's a bit weird to do for me when there's nobody to talk to, so I've always felt like, and I've kind of made the call, I should say, that streaming is not really something I want to look into unless there is an audience that I've developed on YouTube, because I don't want to just stream for a number of hours and nobody shows up. Like, there's one thing about like recording offline gameplay, because I'm still like enjoying the game and recording it on my own time, but streaming is like, you're streaming it for the purpose of people to see it, and if nobody's seeing it, you don't feel like it's worth any time that you've wasted into it. And I did it once, and I'm like, man, this just feels weird. So streaming wise, I probably won't go forward with that unless I'm doing it with friends, so at least it keeps me invested that way. But otherwise, I mean, it's the kind of thing where, I'm just kind of playing it as it goes. Like, I'm just doing things and trying things and seeing what can work. And, I'm thinking about recording gameplay of XCOM Chimera Squad, because I figure because that's not story intense, I can interact with the game and also talk at the same time and make jokes or criticisms or points or whatever I want to do there. And maybe I'll try doing that more with, like, say, online multiplayer games. Like, I have Call of Duty Warzone. I haven't really played much of it because Battle Royales have never really been my thing, but I've thought that maybe that's something to look into, just to, not even because it's popular, because it's something that's relatively easy to react to and still play at the same time, but, it's just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what works. And, otherwise it's, gameplay is a strange beast for me, and it's something that I've tried a few times and it's had different results, and I've pushed it back every single time. So I'm hoping that this time I can make it work and keep it consistent. And then otherwise, when it comes to just videos like this, I mean, I have ideas outside of just regular news, but at the same time, the majority of videos that would require this sort of a format would be news stories. And the only challenge with that is I want to figure out if there's a balance between doing it here and then also having most of these stories on the podcast, because, obviously it makes sense to do that. I mean, I've had the video that I did a while ago about people being a little bit indifferent to new changes to things that they've already been accustomed to, like, say, the PS5 controller, Resident Evil 3's remake, and the Final Fantasy VII remake. And those are the kind of things I think I could go into as well. But those videos are kind of just like, if I feel the urge to say something about it, maybe that's when I'll do it. But otherwise, I mean, when it comes to solo content, like either gameplay or this kind of stuff, it's really just whenever I can do it and I feel like it's worth putting up, because I've done a couple of gameplay recordings that I'm not that interested in posting because I don't think they're that good. So it's kind of a matter of figuring out what works and figuring out what's worth putting up. So, I mean, that's really it in terms of what we're doing, but the only real question is what happens when things go back to whatever normal might be. And I'm not really sure. Obviously, it's easier to find time to do more stuff when you're not hanging out with people. I'm not playing any rec league sports, obviously. I'm not seeing family right now. I haven't seen my girlfriend in almost 2 months now. I haven't seen my family in about the same time. I mean, I have a new niece that was born last December, and I've only seen her once. And I'm not probably going to be able to see her for a while. So there's all these things that, as soon as we're able to at least go see people and not necessarily worry nearly as much about infecting everybody, that will take time away. And the question really becomes, how much time can I offer to this channel when I still work 40 hours a week, when I still have other things that I can do, with friends, and because I don't want to just be an antisocial guy either. So I don't really know what it means for content here once this whole pandemic's over. It's easy for me to say that, I'll just stay on top of things. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, I'm putting out videos like every 2 to 3 days. That doesn't always end up being viable if I'm doing this in the long run. It really depends on if I can find ways to have videos that don't require a lot of editing. For example, like the VCR plays that we've been doing, the Left 4 Deads that we've been doing are hard and take a while, and I wish they wouldn't, but the way that we do them is we're just shooting the shit like we're hanging out. So there's a lot of personal talk that goes on during these videos. So I have to edit out a lot of stuff because I don't want things to get too personal on a gameplay channel or on a YouTube channel in general. So, like, most of these things go an hour, hour and a half, and I'm trying to cut them down to like 20 minutes. So it's taken like 3-4 hours to edit these out, and you do the math. I mean, I'm working 40 hours a week on weekdays, so I've only got maybe 4 or 5 hours of free time when I get home before I have to go to sleep. So to edit one video is basically like the rest of my free time on one weekday. But then when we have things like recording podcasts and recording the gameplay videos and then recording other stuff that I'm doing, that also takes time up. So how much time do I actually have left over? And in the end, it's like, it gets less and less as soon as things go back to normal and I'm now hanging out with people in person again, and I'm going and doing other things like sport. I don't know about sports and stuff, but that's going to be a weird thing about things going back to normal. That'll probably be in another video when I do another COVID talk, but timing is going to be the big thing here, and I have no idea how that's going to work. And obviously, when I have a channel of 200 subscribers, I mean, not a lot of people are going to see this, and not a lot of people are technically going to care. I mean, I know I'm making this video, and maybe 2 people will watch this. you know, but it's something that I do because I feel like if anybody is actually paying attention, it'd be nice to let them know. And it's also just something to keep me busy, right? Again, it's like I said earlier, I'm just doing this for fun, and I'm doing this to keep myself busy when I do have extra time. So that's probably going to do it. So for anybody who's been around, I appreciate that you're here, and, you know, we'll just see where this road goes. And I'm hoping that I can keep this to some level of consistency. I mean, the podcast is the one consistent. That won't change. That's always going to be a thing. It's just a matter of what else can be done and what else can be released every week. Or at least so that it's more than just one video a week. I want to try to at least keep a couple videos a week. It's just a matter of what is that. And we'll see how that goes in the long run. And especially once things go back to normal, we'll see where it really takes us. So with that being said, guys, that's going to do it here. So I'll see you on the next video, whatever that may be, and I'll see you next time.